It is March 2nd, 2022. I am extremely irritated, and that's why I haven't gotten dressed yet. It's midday. It's 3 o'clock or after. And I spent the last hour or so sifting through my clothing, realizing that I was missing more of my articles of clothing than I had anticipated that had been stolen from the Madonna Renewal Center in Freeport, Illinois, when I went there and tried to find sanctuary to have my child. So I get there on the first evening at approximately 10 o'clock after driving for 10 hours straight. And this was way back, 2 months ago. And I got there. They told me I could sleep there. That was fine. They fed me some spinach and some Italian dressing. And because I was vegan, I had no other, options really. I just snacked on that and then went up and went to bed after a while. They didn't have me sign any paperwork or anything like that. I called them and had informed them, since it was through a Catholic diocese, I had presumed that since I was, raised in a Catholic school and everything, that I would have not necessarily nepotism or like a privilege for being there, or like a sort of, what is it called? Like a, just sort of like privilege, like privileges beyond what they allot normal girls that go there. Since I stem from a Catholic school, I stem from your religious background, all of it. And I get there, and I am there for the evening. By morning, they told me, and I was very upset. Since I was in a facility where it reminded me of my school and everything, there were, crosses and statues everywhere. I was trying to ask God for forgiveness for having the baby inside of me, for the fact that I laid down next to Jason Wallace. So I was praying for my salvation and praying for the salvation of my child. There was a large room that they had given me all to myself, so I thought I was going to be safe. I thought that, I didn't have to worry about anything, that there wasn't going to be any altercations with the other ladies, but then that evening even, one of the ladies came down from upstairs, and she was all disheveled, all heavy set, reeking of cigarettes, and it smelled like cigarettes in the hallway. So as the nurse or the nun had come by, she had asked me, she was like, well, do you smell that? And I said, yes. The lady right there that walked into the kitchen, she, I guess, was smoking in the hallway. I don't know. I didn't see it, but all I did was smell it very strongly. So she said, oh yeah, she's one that we have to watch, we have to talk to about, this and that. And I was like, well, shit, thinking to myself, like, you have cameras on the premises, you should know better than to try to help and harbor some people that don't want to help and don't want to offer back. They're just lazy, and that's how they are. So immediately, and people think I'm lazy. Okay. So I went and laid down, and, I'm very, very conscientious about how I maneuver things. I do not like to use other people's belongings. I don't like to touch anybody's materials. And even if I do grab something, I always place it back where I found it, because out of respect, I don't want to, have anybody questioning, where did this go? Where did that go? I'm not that type of disrespectful human being. So I spent the night there. By morning, I was going around. It was approximately 7 o'clock, so I only had received about maybe 5 or 6 hours of sleep. I'd been rudely awakened at approximately like 4 or 5 in the morning by someone asking if I was okay and if I needed assistance to, another location in that area, another facility up in that general area. I told them that I had, found a place and that I was okay. I had settled in for the evening, and then I couldn't fall back asleep. So it was 4 or 5 in the morning, and I stayed awake for a couple of hours or a few hours, and then went to whatever mass was going on downstairs in the chapel. The nuns were down there, and I presumed, since the doors were open, that I was welcome. but I could feel disdain toward me as I walked in and did my gestures toward God and the altar. And when I sat down and everything after I did my prayers and my kneeling prayers, I could just feel the daggers of their eyes, directed toward me. And I'm not trying to be crude or anything like that, and I'm not trying to be weird, but the nuns that I knew were of a different diocese because they wore black. Well, these ones were Nigerian nuns that wore blue. So it was a difference in, the different areas of the Catholicism. So I guess they ran things a little differently. And that's a little odd, because if you're unaccepting of other Catholics, then that makes you even worse. That makes you satanic. So when I ended up, I asked them, I said, well, what time is Mass? And they said something about 8 o'clock. Do you want to go with us? I was like, okay, sure. By that time, I didn't remove any of my belongings inside. We went to Mass, and it was Ash Wednesday. Oh, so there we go. I remember that because I had gotten ashes on my forehead. And by the time we were done with that, it was approximately 10 o'clock. I had eaten something, or, I didn't even... Oh, yes, I had some oatmeal. We got back, and one of the other nuns had helped me to boil some water. So I went and ate my oatmeal because I brought it myself. And they had a bunch of other foods and everything, but I told them I was on a very strict diet. I would prefer to just stay with mine because I was on disability. They said that was all right, that I would collect my own income, that I could be able to save it for, when I would find a place of my own. And I thought, yeah, this is going to be wonderful. This is going to be exactly what God sent me for. This is what God sent me to do. Someplace safe. I can now save my money. This is going to be wonderful. So I got done with that and started carrying my belongings inside. And the first things I had brought in were my dirty laundry. And I told they said that I would go ahead and start washing my clothing. There was only one other lady that was doing her laundry, so the machines were being utilized at the time that I dropped off my clothes in the laundry area, and there were cameras in the hallway. There were no cameras in the laundry area. So when I set my belongings down, I tried to bring in all of my belongings all at once, because I had presumed that I was going to stay at this location safely for the remainder of the pregnancy and then thereafter. So, my mistake. I brought in all of my clothes, and they were in bags, and they were in suitcases and everything. And the nuns had told me, place it in the laundry area. I said, I don't feel comfortable with that. Can I place them in my room at the very least to get them away? And they said, no. And one of the nuns reassured me that nothing would happen to my belongings. So I believed it, because it was supposed to be a godly facility. It was supposed to be ran by these nuns, and they're directly Catholic. So this is what really disheartens me. This is what hurts my soul, my heart and soul, is that when I had my back turned to go bring in the rest of my belongings, I was bringing in my suitcase, I was bringing in this and that, I was bringing in my food, I organized my food, and then I also was sorting items that I would leave for the girls in case they wanted, because it was food that I didn't need anymore. So I set that aside, and I was taking a couple of, maybe an hour or two to do all of that while my laundry sat upstairs, and I was going up and down. This is when I was, like I said, approximately 3-4 months pregnant. So I was able to go up and down the stairs fairly quickly, but at the same time, I was getting really, really just worn out, because it was approximately 3 flights of stairs going up and down to carry all of my belongings, all these different trips. And I was carrying everything all at once, because I'm kind of like that, I want to try to just get everything over with. So by the time I was done organizing my food, the nuns were in and out. They were doing their thing, cleaning up and stuff. And the one nun, the main one, told me, and I have their card, but I can't remember exactly what their names were anymore, because it evades me. Apparently they're part of the devil's crew and not God's. So this is what happened next. The nun had told me, she said, we're going to go ahead and do your paperwork here shortly, because they said after breakfast. That didn't happen. Then they said after such and such. Well, at approximately 10, 11 o'clock, I went upstairs and noticed that somebody had sifted through my clothing. And I informed the nun. I said, there's something wrong here. Somebody went through my clothing and there are missing, I said, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that there are missing pieces of my clothes. And she said, oh, okay, we'll look at the cameras here in a little bit. And I said, okay, that's fine, as long as I get my articles back, no harm, no foul. And so I told her too, and I didn't speak exactly like that because I knew she couldn't understand my terms because she's from Nigeria, so she didn't understand my heightened terminology, so I try to dumb it down for people. So this nun, she tells me, yeah, we'll get around to it, we'll take care of the cameras and everything, we'll take care of it. So there she is sitting on her computer, doing whatever she wanted to do. There was another visitor that came to a door, a man, and he was allowed in, and they started speaking their native language to one another. I thought that was odd, the fact that she was going and having these visits, aside from trying to get down to the bottom of who just stole all my clothes. So I just went along with it, finished sifting my things, finished sifting my belongings, keeping to myself as I usually do. By the time, and I brought my own soap as well. They were trying to offer me soap to wash my clothing. I said, no, I have soap of my own. Don't worry, I'm good, because that's how I was raised as a Catholic in my Catholic schools in my diocese, is that, you are respectful of those and you don't take more than you've been given already. So I went ahead and went back upstairs and started sorting my belongings. I had not put anything away yet. Nothing inside of the dressers. I know about roaches. I know about things like that. So I knew to keep my things confined. So I was sorting through my belongings just to put everything in its place to see what I was going to use and what I wasn't going to use. And by the time a few hours had gone by, I asked the nun about filing the paperwork too, about, settling in. She said, oh, well, your intake information and whatever. It had gotten to be about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and nothing was said to me. The nuns were going back and forth. They didn't say anything to me about, yeah, we're going to. Then she did a walkthrough with another woman, and she was the same ethnicity as her. So they were doing a walkabout in the building, and she was showing the lady, and she came up behind me. I managed to wash one load of clothing at that time in between all of this going on while I was sorting. And she came up and she asked me if it was okay to hug me from behind. I didn't like it. It made me very uneasy because I could tell that she was just trying to fake console me about the items that had been stolen. So the consolation didn't help. I told her, I said, no, I'm not feeling well. I said, it makes me feel very upset that all of these things were stolen. And right under, I didn't say it like that. I didn't go into a lengthy detail like I'd like to, because I want people to understand every bit of what I just said, not just take one word or 2 words and expect that that's going to be okay. No, people have a lot of, emotion sometimes, and they need to be able to describe it. So, of course, she went back to giving a walkabout to the lady, and then she went down, I waited. Then it was approximately 4 or something in the afternoon, 3 or 4. By 3 o'clock, I was over it. I was like, if they can't manage to respect me enough to offer me my belongings or to get them back or do something about this, or ask the father or something like that about whoever runs the parish to help. So this place is ran on donations and everything, and they're allowing these things to go on, this theft to go on. And they have all this nepotism toward these criminals. And I told the parish when I called later on, I said, that's really fishy. If they're unable to get those things back, if they're not doing anything to prosecute or, pursue the people that were indecent in this way, to disrespect someone and criminals, thieving from others. This is supposed to be a safe place for women that are giving birth and all this and that, transitioning into the world. So I thought it was a perfect place for me. They made it out to be something it wasn't. Even on the sign outside, it said something about restoring dignity. I lost dignity by going to this place. I feel even worse than before. because they disrespected me so much, even within my own religion and my own faith. That's what hurt, is because they didn't believe me. At one point, the nun asked me, "Are you sure that those items are not just misplaced?" And I said, "I know for sure because I have photos of me in those items, and none of those items are in my vehicle, and they're not in any of the bags. I went through everything. I keep a photographic memory of everything. Like, I keep an inventory of my belongings, and I know where I place them, so that I can go back to them later on because of my different disorders, so that I don't get heightened like you saw with the peanut butter cups, you know?" So anyway, I had, and that's actually a lot more stress than people think. They think, "Oh, she's just playing." No, I'm in a heightened state of stress that I'm just very calm. My heart rate goes down because I know if I go too much, then I'll end up passing out. There have been times where I've gotten so frustrated, so upset, so aggravated, I hyperventilate, have a panic attack, and have passed out before. So I've learned how to calm myself through breathing techniques throughout the years, and yoga helps and all of that, and searching different, Asian sort of religious aspects as well. That's why I say I'm mostly spiritual, not just Catholic. I, of course, am still Catholic technically because that's what I was baptized under the blood of Christ. So when oh my God, by the time I ended up, 3:00 came and I started taking my belongings outside, I knew that these women were disrespecting me. They didn't manage to, we didn't do the intake forms, none of it, So by the time it was 3:00, I thought, why aren't they getting to the bottom? Why aren't they giving me an answer? Why is this not going in my favor in that way? I came here to be safe. I know that I am actually fairly godly compared to most. I don't go around robbing, cheating, stealing, and lying and all that. So when the 4:30 came or so, I finally confronted, after I took all of my belongings back outside. I did 2 loads of laundry. I did a load of clothing and a load that was my blanket and my linens. And I took them back outside, put everything in my vehicle. I secured my vehicle, brought in the ultrasound photos that I had received just recently at one of the clinics. And it was, I think, dated in February. So the photos were only like a couple weeks old. And I showed the nun, I said, "Here you go." And I showed her the ultrasound photos, and she said, "Oh, what's this?" I said, "Oh, that's the baby inside of me. That's the baby that you chose to kick out of this facility by harboring criminals, because I'm not going to be housed under the same roof as criminals, because that's how it is now. That's why I left my mother's home. That's why I left, because my brother was bringing around a 16-year-old at 31 years old, and she was okay with it. But no, and it's not even society being okay with it, because 16 is consensual in the state of Arkansas. So, not this state, in the state of Arkansas. So, when I had told her, I said, "Here's the baby that you chose to, remove from your facility by allowing my items to get stolen." And she handed them back all abruptly. She was like, she was offended. And I was like, "You have no idea who you've offended and how much you've offended me by allowing all of this nonsense to go on. My nice dresses were stolen from me. My nice long sleeve items, all of the things that I had purchased through coupons and through rewards and through savings, and finding them on discounted racks and searching and searching and searching for these items that were expensive articles of clothing. And I've gotten them for such and such, dirt cheap, because I took the time and effort to place into myself so that I could look lovely. But no, all of those things were stolen. That's why no one had seen me in any of my articles anymore, the same stuff that I had photos of, because those are gone. Not that I didn't want to wear them. There's a few items that I barely had, I was so proud of and took photos of, and that's what I tried to convey to the nuns and everything. I said, "Well, I'm leaving here, but I'm filing a police report right now over the articles being stolen." So I called the police. I waited a few minutes. A female officer showed up. I was grateful that it was female. And by the time I started telling her about my belongings being stolen, I thought I had come here to a safe location and they've stolen from me. I explained to her it wasn't just the green top, and I was started to hyperventilate. I mean, I'm pregnant, I'm confused, I just came all this way, I didn't, I drove 10 hours, slept for 5 hours, was very frustrated, barely had anything to eat. I had that oatmeal, and then by the middle of the day, I was not hungry. It was disheartening that I had my belongings touched by someone else. That upsets me. I do not like anybody touching my shit or me or any of that stuff. And if you do, without my consent, you are cursed. You are cursed. So, and I've tried to explain that to people. You don't believe it. You're just like, oh, I'm going to take it. You'll get your karma. Believe me, you will get your karma. Ask the people who have touched my belongings prior. Ask the people who have stolen from me. Everyone always gets their just rewards through hurting me. And so anyway, I ended up calling the police and trying to file the report, and I started hyperventilating, and the woman, she was like, are you all right? I was like, no, I'm not okay. She's like, do you need an ambulance? Do you want to go to the hospital? And I was like, maybe I should, because I didn't feel like I could drive at that point. I didn't feel like I could maneuver beyond what that upset, that frustration, that detachment, that pain of having lost again after just losing everything and then being forced to be impregnated and all this stuff. I didn't know what to do. My hormones were crazy. So they ended up taking me to the hospital, and I had disclosed to everyone about my mental issues, and of course everybody went about their business to try to make it out to be like I was crazy and I made up the situation and everything. I'm like, there's literally proof. I have photos of the items. I've not been anywhere to sell these items. It went from Arkansas to Illinois in my stuff. No, I've not been associating with any deviants. I've not made any exchanges, and that's proven through my phone, all the timestamps on everything, all the times I utilize my GPS, all this stuff. Everything coincides to the truth that I was spewing. So, of course, they monitored me for hours. I had to talk to like 3 or 4 different people and explain to them the same scenarios, the same instances, and all the different mental issues that I had, why I had post-traumatic stress, why the authorities had done what they had done, why my ex-husband had done what he had done. So it's like my story is constantly being, it's like a scab, and you're just picking it apart, and it's not healing. Because all you're doing is asking me every time at these facilities what's wrong, when in actuality it was because my clothes were stolen, get me my clothes back, and also my daughter was stolen, give me my daughter back, and also my other belongings were stolen by my family, get those things back. But nobody wants to understand. They're like, no, you're crazy because you can't move beyond that. That's how they act. So they literally monitored me, and the one that I spoke with I had an electronic monitor. There was a man that I spoke with, a very nice gentleman. He saw me for what I was, which was just someone suffering and going through a lot of trauma, and no one was helping me. Not the authorities, because I had spoken out. Not my family, because I had spoken out. Not my ex-husband or anything, because I had spoken out. So he was actually very discouraged by my story. He said, I'll never forget, even just talking with you. You're so eloquent, you're articulate when you're speaking. I said, yeah, well, I had to learn these terms after I went to these private schools and everything. I had no idea that I would have to relay my story in such a way and to be so heightened and emotional toward it. And I wasn't crying. I wasn't doing anything like that. I was relaying it very sensibly, because at this point, I don't cry anymore. The more I cried years ago, nobody believed me anyway. They thought I was just being irate. They thought I was just being manipulative. And I'm like, no, excuse me, no. So that's why he was like, well, I don't see any point of trying to put you in a psych ward. All you had was a panic attack, and you're suffering from this thing and that thing. I don't see any problem with you just, going home. By this time, it was already late in the evening. It was dark outside. And the doctor actually, the doctor that had seen me and spoke to me first, decided he wanted to keep me because of my mental issues. So I was like, just please, God, do not send me to a psych ward. I do not need any orderlies fucking with me while I'm pregnant. Like, I will literally snap. And that's what they do, is they catch you in those heightened states, and they tell courts that you need to stay in there longer. when in actuality it has nothing to do with that. It was the fact that you didn't listen to us in the first place. We were discussing we don't need that. We don't need your medicine. We don't need you locking us away for days and charging up a huge bill, you know, and our insurance doesn't cover such and such of it, or our trip to the ER and we've got some weird bill for it, when in actuality my insurance covers transportation. It covers all the medical needs 100%. So you're literally driving us crazy by not doing your jobs properly. So, and then you just want to get money out of us. That's all it is. Just monetary gain. So by the time he spoke to the other man, he said I was fine to go home, and he was the actual therapist or whatever, the psychologist. And then the doctor himself, the ER doctor, was like, well, no, we'll just monitor overnight, so they fed me. They gave me a plate. And I said, I'm vegan. What did they do? Give me a fucking turkey sandwich. So I had to eat around it, and they didn't even give me 2 sandwiches, 2 meals. No, I just had to pick around like a freaking bird, picking around the things that didn't have contaminants all over it, so I didn't end up with diarrhea. So there I am eating my stuff. They probably thought that was insane. I'm like, just because I'm homeless doesn't mean that I'm like that desperate. No, thank you. I would rather stick to my diet, stick to my religious perspectives, and stick to my moral statutes. No, thank you. Because those are my ethical, that's my ethical code. Is just stick by what Leticia is working for you and is not going to make you slip up or be crazy to other people. Crazy. So anyway, they monitored me overnight, and I actually got some good rest there. I was very upset, still upset about the clothing, still upset about this and that. Found out, and then the officer that had actually escorted me to, the ambulance, and actually, I think she went on the ambulance ride herself. I don't know. I had to have a female there because I was flipping out. I was like, I don't want any of those males to touch me. I'm done. It's not, it's not you, but it's what you men do to women like me. So they were very understanding. And by the time I'd gotten to, the next morning, and they fed me, and of course I had to pick around the breakfast because they gave me eggs, and I'm thinking the smell was disgusting. I wanted to throw up. Scrambled eggs, and it's just putrid, so gross. By the time I ended up being escorted back to my vehicle, thank God the officers were so kind enough to actually escort me back to my vehicle, which was still parked at the Madonna Renewal Center there in Freeport, Illinois. And I ended up getting there and had to make phone calls as soon as I got to my car so that I could find a new place to go. And the officer informed me, oh yeah, you'll be fine right now. You just gotta go because, the nuns don't want you back here. How disrespectful. You literally had my stuff stolen, and you're gonna tell the officers you don't want me back at your facility? That's why I left a review on Google. And I'm still gonna harp about this because this is not right. It is not fair to an individual that's already down on her luck. And I've made numerous attempts to call and leave messages with the dioceses that are attached to it, the parishes that are attached to it. Nobody's gotten down to it. Nobody's gotten to the bottom of it. Instead, I'm just out. I don't have my nice stuff. I don't have any of that, the things that were taken. I have no compensation for it. So why does this stuff keep happening to me? Because I expect too much of the world around me. And those that lie about and actually use God's name in vain, because they're using God's name in vain by not helping individuals that need help. Instead, they're helping criminals to succeed. So, yeah, ungodly, completely ungodly. And that's why I wanted to relay that, because I literally and people wonder, why are you snapping out? Why is it 30, 40 minutes? Why is it an hour? Why is it all day that you're pissed? This is why I'm pissed, because I went to go find one of my special dresses, wanted to wear it so that I could look nice, and it is gone. Completely disappeared. And it was one of the dresses in the bag that was stolen. So of course I called and left a voicemail on their, assistance or whatever line, where it said, like if you're looking for such and such assistance, whatever, because they've got sometimes parishes have that where it's like St. Jude or whatever to help others, or it's some type of, to give back to the community. Yet I'm not part of their community apparently, because I'm not actually living in Illinois. So you'd think that I was the community of the United States, part of that community, part of this classification, yet nobody's doing anything about this. Nobody's doing anything to solve this. I think that that's interesting. I think that that's actually very confusing. I don't understand it. I just find that very humorous because everybody is so hypocritical. And I'm sick and tired of this because here I am having to call people out. I shouldn't have to be the one to do that. I should be having my belongings back. They should have placed effort into that. When I asked the officer too, I realized there was no report filed over it. There was absolutely no report filed over that the day after Ash Wednesday. So that's how I keep track of things. Different occasions, different time frames. I mean, I have proof here and there of everything. And yeah, I left. They tried to offer me like a baby blanket at one point too. I left that there because I'm not going to take anything tainted from that facility. And that was exactly it. I left a bunch of food there for the girls, food that I didn't want or need. So I actually gave back to the facility, whereas they stole from me. And you tell me how godly that is. You tell me how interesting how that plays out, since I'm actually a homeless person with nothing, have nothing, and gave back more to a facility that stole from me in the 24-hour span that I was there. Less than 24 hours. So yeah, it's interesting how my life works. How I'm some type of strange prophet without even being essentially knowing that I am or whatever, because I'm managed without anybody else's assistance. And when I do, like I said, speak out, apparently they don't know what they're doing because they were tainted by Satan. So, and I call them out on that because that's not okay. Like, don't utilize your religion and everything to help everybody else, and you're just going to have nepotism toward that and securing them things and allowing them to wear my stuff around and expect that I'm just going to be okay with it. No, where's the compensation? Where's that dress? Where's that, $50, $100 dress that I got for like $15 and all that? Tell me, because that, add up the actual value of those things so I can replace them properly, so I can find things that fit, and you'll see that you stole hundreds of dollars from me. That's what I'm trying to convey through my videos, is that the few things that I pinpoint on my sale and clearance items, those are valuable to me because I take care of them. I maintain them, just like everything in this vehicle. That's why I just took that much time switching and getting out all of my nice, spring items that I have so far, which are not that many, and then putting away all the winter belongings in my suitcase and everything. So I just don't understand. Why would anybody want to steal from somebody that has nothing and then give them the idea that they're there to help them, and in actuality all they're doing is taking? Jason Wallace. I mean, that's gaslighting. That's expecting, that's not fair. Like, I literally am seeking help. What is going on in the world that they don't see that I need help? What is going on in the world that they don't see that I'm destitute? What's going on in the world that they don't see that I'm down on my luck and don't have anything? Why would you want me to suffer more? And I'm like, how many more years of this, God? It's been 34 years. It's going on 35. How many more years do I need to suffer to prove to the world that this is incorrect? Something is wrong. Something is flawed. And I'm the one calling it out. And I do it with my tits hanging out. And people think I'm ungodly. No. It's the circumstances I've lived through and the people that I've encountered that don't do the right thing and don't do the right thing by others. That's what pisses me off. That's what pisses me off. Just like some dude right now, as I was finishing up, he said something about how much for like a hand job versus a BJ, or something like a handsy versus a BJ. And I'm thinking, I don't know. Let me call up your mom. She's the one that's got all the prices. So I better, I must be reflective, even if it was however many years ago and she's still doing the chore. So I know that her prices might not be as much as what I would get, but I'll call her up. I'll make sure to call her up. So, as your moms are like that. So, how's that? How do you like them apples? Which reminds me, speaking of goddamn apples, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I placed my bag and I kind of tied it up and didn't realize that they had gotten like warm and cold, my apples. Well, this apple burst. I've never seen that before. I don't know if I want to eat this apple anymore. You know what I mean? That is really, really weird. I've never seen that. So, that's very odd. Anyway, I have not eaten properly yet. I ate a bunch of snacks. I ate a bunch of animal crackers and some of them my chocolate bar, and also a couple handfuls of cashews. So I'm not feeling well though, because I'm very upset. Who does that? How am I supposed to look nice when I have nothing to look nice, when I specifically spent time and efforts into getting those belongings so I could put them on quickly and easily and look lovely? You know? No, there's something wrong. There's something very wrong with all these circumstances, and I'm sick and tired of having to preach about it because nobody's listening. Absolutely nobody's listening. And I'm thinking, why? Why aren't you listening? I'm literally down and out. I'm literally the one that's the victim. I'm literally the one that's in help, that's needing help. Yet you want to take the sides of criminals and take the sides of predators, take the sides of all these deviants and perverts. You want to take them and give them more. And I'm like, Jesus, when is this going to be over with? Because if I don't end up getting something out of all of this, some type of compensation, I don't want to be alive anymore. I'm done. They win. The devils and the evil, satanic worshipers, all these individuals, the hypocrites, they can win. I don't care. But then it's like God tells me, like, no, Leticia, you're here for a reason, and he keeps shoving me back in my goddamn body. And I don't know what's up with that. I really don't. I really don't. So anyway, that's what I wanted to convey, and I just wanted to do a shorter video because I didn't expect to even speak for 40 minutes. But these go on in my head constantly, and then I just relay it because I figure somebody will listen one day, right? I mean, or am I just speaking to nobody? Am I just speaking to myself? Is God within me in that sense of like, am I just speaking to myself? Oh my God, there's nobody else exists? All these things that happen, I could have swore someone existed because I've been beaten and I've been sexually assaulted and I've been, left for dead. And I've also had everything stolen from me physically and then, robbed from in that way. Not just physically, but psychologically and emotionally. Scarred because of all of these things. And I can't turn to anyone, and people wonder why I chose not to keep seeking assistance. And it's because when I would go to these places, I would end up hurt worse. In the one place that I went, Remedies in Rockford, I went there, they gave me a voucher for a week, so I stayed at a motel. It was really run down and disgusting. It smelled disgusting in the room. And then I get to the location, they signed me in, told me they were going to help me. I told them about these supposed warrants, but none of them exist. Somebody even made a comment about some type of restraining order in Missouri. It doesn't exist. Not with me. I found another one though, Leticia Collins. That's not me. My name, I don't have a middle name. So, anyway, yeah. I ended up looking it up this morning and I realized, I was like, there are no warrants for me still. That was all just fake, and that hurts my feelings because they're trying to scare me and everything. But for what reason? I'm already pregnant. I'm already scared enough. I'm already scared and I'm nervous and I don't know where to pop this baby out at and where it's going to be safe and where I could take care of it at and love it. But no, people are just continually harassing me. Continually. And it's even a psychological harassment because of these things that happened that I never got compensation for, that I never got, reimbursed for. So I'm not really sure what's going on. I'm not really sure. I'm very confused and I'm just trying my hardest to get by. But like I said about there not being a restraining order, and so people are just trying to sway others to believe things that are nonsense. And then, what was I saying? Shoot. I just don't understand it. I don't understand why they're trying to hurt me so much and hurt my baby in the process. Like, I get it. You don't want me alive because I contradict what you've lived through. I prove that you're wrong in what you've done and how you've lived and how you do this and that. And I understand that I look like the devil to you people, but in actuality, wouldn't it be very saintly that I'm trying to change you by exposing your flaws so that you can stop being in denial and alter them so that you can end up better in the long run. And I've done that many times for people where they're like, man, you really made me think. Yeah, that's what Leticia does. She makes you think, because none of this makes any sense, yet it is my fucking reality, because there is proof everywhere. There's video of me here and there. So that's why I said, if I catch anybody in that clothing and they're going around pretending to be me and everything, I just don't know. Shame on you. Shame on all of you individuals that presume that I'm the one that's incorrect for seeking justice. No. There's true justice out there. It may not lie in the court system because the court system doesn't want to hear me because I didn't place enough money in there. All they hear is cha-ching, 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 and they haven't heard that from me. So all of my help me please, I'm dying, help me, doesn't matter. They haven't heard cha-ching, cha-ching. So yeah, that's just how it works. And I'm frustrated. I don't remember what I was going to say in conjunction with that, but it was probably some other snide remark that some people deserve to hear, and the honest truth about things. And I hope that this reaches the people that it needs to reach, because that was ungodly what happened. It was not right, righteous at all. It was not done appropriately. And the fact that I'm out, the fact that I have to wonder, what am I going to wear today? I wanted to wear that dress. Oh, it's not there anymore, Leticia. Some prostitute has it. Some crackhead that smokes cigarettes. She deserved the dress more than me. And I try to think of it like, Leticia, you know your faith. You know that these things are just material items, and they don't necessarily mean anything in the long run. But that does not mean that I don't have emotions toward it, because I'm only human. I am flesh and blood like everyone else, and I bleed like everyone else. So I don't understand it. I really don't understand how I'm the one that has to preach to everyone else about doing right and doing justly in the world. Just because I had so many years of it, preaching it and going to Catholic school, I just don't get it. This is a normal thing. Every religious aspect, every culture has that saying, what goes around comes around. It's karma. So don't do this shit to me. Don't do it to anybody. That's insane. Because then you're just going to end up having it done to you. Which, I don't know when I stole clothes from people. I'm like, what? Literally, I don't know when I stole clothing. Because I stole one lingerie piece when I was younger because I didn't want to get caught buying it. I was 16 and I wanted to look, or 17-ish, right in there. Wanted to look nice for my first boyfriend. So I got some lingerie that I stole. But that was at Burlington Coat Factory in Beloit, Wisconsin. And I don't care about disclosing this stuff because yes, I did get away with it. Do I feel bad? Yes. Would I love to repay them? Yes, because that wasn't right of me. But to have this happen in this day and age, I have nothing to repay you, Burlington Coat Factory. I'm sorry. They just stole my own clothes. I don't even have enough money to wear clothes on my back right now. So cover my titas. And then half the bras that I have, they're getting so old, especially from any of the sweat that gets accumulated in that. You know how they start smelling bad? I can't get the smell out now. I tried to use sanitizer and everything. It's just one thing after another. I can't catch a break if I wanted to, because now I'm the smelly kid in class. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. I made attempts to avoid this, yet the people that I was supposed to trust aren't trustworthy. So that makes me very sad, because now I'm pregnant and confused, and everybody's trying to say all this bashing stuff because they don't know me personally, and they're trying to say my story's fake. Are you serious? I'm literally doing this. It's embarrassing. Like, these videos are embarrassing for me. That's what is wrong with you. These are completely, horribly embarrassing. So I wouldn't be doing this to seek any type of assistance aside from I'm letting it known before I try another attempt, before I snap, before I, really hurt myself again. And because I don't want to with the baby inside of me. I don't want to, but I'm being forced to because people are continually stealing from my reality. So anyway, today is May 2nd, 2022. I hope everybody's having a better day than me, because this is not right. It's not fair. And I do just wish that I had my own house so I could shower up and wear something lovely out of the door. But I can't seem to make any progress because everybody that I disclose my story to it always has